Hey everyone, if you're watching or listening, hit that like button and subscribe. Let me know in the comments where and what time you're tuning in from. The year is 1347. You wake up in the middle of a medieval winter, but not just any winter. A dense, unforgiving fog has swallowed your village for days, clinging to every thatched roof and seeping into your very bones. You feel the cold seeping through your threadbare tunic, a persistent, damp chill that refuses to leave. The air itself feels heavy, thick with the stench of unwashed bodies, stale fear, and something else, something sickly sweet and decaying, like the fields themselves. You push yourself up from the straw, the damp earth cold beneath your calloused feet. Your stomach twists with a familiar, hollow ache. The crops failed again, leaving you with little more than memories of a decent meal. Children cough, their small bodies racked with illness, their cries muffled by the perpetual mist. You pull your ragged cloak tighter, the coarse wool doing little to keep out the biting air as you step out into the gloom. Whispers follow you like shadows, weaving through the fog, tales of misfortune morphing into something far more sinister. Divine wrath, people murmur, eyes wide and darting. Demonic influence, others hiss, glancing towards the pigsties. The village pigs, those usually grubby, familiar creatures, are now viewed with a terrible suspicion. You remember the hushed conversations, the fearful looks cast their way, the dreadful implication of some unspeakable act, a sacrilege committed in the mud and muck. The desperation is a palpable thing, a weight pressing down on everyone. You see it in the sunken eyes of your neighbors, in the way they clutch their wooden crosses, in the sudden, sharp movements when a shadow shifts in the fog. The inexplicable, the harvest failing, the sickness spreading, it all twists into an act of evil, a dark force demanding a solution, any solution. You feel the collective dread, the gnawing hunger in your belly, mirroring the hunger for an answer, for someone or something, to blame, to punish. The world around you has turned hostile, and the line between misfortune and malice has blurred into the chilling reality of a village gripped by fear. It's a strange thing, how fear can distort truth, twisting the natural world into a stage for dark, unseen forces. How the need for an answer, when none exists, can lead you down paths of the truly absurd. The air is thick, with a scent of damp earth, and the raw, unwashed fear of the crowd. You hear it first, a series of frantic, desperate squeals, rising above the low murmur of the villagers. The sound grates on your nerves, a stark, unsettling cry that cuts through the chill of the morning. You're pressed against your neighbors in the muddy village square, your breath fogging in the cold, your gaze fixed on the makeshift tribunal. This isn't a grand hall of justice, but just a cleared patch of churned-up mud, surrounded by the same crude wooden houses you know so well. A rough-hewn table serves as the bench, and behind it stands a somber figure, perhaps the local reeve, his face stern, his eyes unyielding. All eyes, however, are drawn to the center. A large sow, its hide caked with mud, struggles against the coarse ropes binding its legs. Its small, dark eyes seem to hold no understanding, only fear and confusion as it's dragged forward, its powerful body resisting. You feel the tremor of the ground as it grunts, oblivious to the gravity of the accusations swirling around it. The villagers press closer, a collective shudder passing through them. You feel the chill of their judgmental stares, a palpable weight of anger and desperation, all focused on the thrashing creature. Raw accusations hang in the air, unspoken, but deeply felt, condemning the beast for the blight upon your lives, for the failing crops and the sickened children. The reeve raises a hand, and a hush falls, broken only by the pig's labored breathing. His voice, when it comes, is a low rumble, filled with grave pronouncements that seem to carry the weight of divine judgment. He speaks of sacrilege, of dark forces, of the need for earthly justice to appease the heavens. You watch as he gestures, his words sealing the animal's fate. A collective gasp ripples through the crowd as the verdict is delivered, a guttural sound, a blend of shock and grim satisfaction. You witness a spectacle so unsettling, so out of place, that it blurs the very lines between man, beast, and what you understand of divine decree. It makes you wonder, doesn't it, how far a fearful heart will go to find an enemy, even if that enemy grunts and knows no sin beyond its natural instincts. A musty, earthy scent fills your nostrils, heavy with the smell of old parchment and dried ink. You hear the faint scratch of a quill on paper, a rhythmic sound that seems to cut through the quiet hum of concentration in the air. You've stepped into a different world from the muddy square, a solid, oak-paneled chamber, dimly lit by tall, narrow windows. Here, the court is formal, the faces serious, the atmosphere heavy with intellectual rigor, yet something feels profoundly, unsettlingly strange. You sit on a hard wooden bench, feeling the cold seep into your back. Before you, at a long table, sit the robed figures of the court, their expressions unreadable. But it's not just men and women on trial here. No, the docket holds a far stranger collection of defendants. You hear the slow, deliberate reading of charges, not against a human thief, but against the collective of rats responsible for the destruction of the granary. Then, a careful recitation detailing the damages inflicted by, quote, certain weevils on the communal stores of flour. Even snails are accused, formal complaints lodged against their persistent destruction of garden vegetables. You watch the lawyers, earnest men in their dark robes, their brows furrowed in concentration. One, with spectacles perched on his nose, gestures emphatically as he argues for the defense of the accused rodents, citing obscure legal precedents, even referring to the inherent nature of the defendant species. His voice is measured, his arguments precise, yet you can feel the bewildered tension in his posture, the strain of applying human law to creatures utterly oblivious to its existence. You see the subtle shrug of another lawyer, assigned to represent the slugs, as he debates the precise boundaries of their alleged criminal territory. The rustle of parchment, the careful turning of pages, the scratch of the quill as clerks record every meticulous detail. It's all so official, so utterly bureaucratic. You witness the bizarre juxtaposition of human intellectual power, vast and complex, applied to the chaotic amoral forces of nature. Every furrowed brow, every solemn nod, every precise legal term, seems to be a desperate, almost frantic attempt to impose order on a world that stubbornly refuses to be understood or controlled. It's an exercise in monumental absurdity, yet everyone here treats it with the utmost gravity, as if the very foundations of their world depend on these meticulous, nonsensical proceedings. It makes you wonder about the limits of human reason, how far we will stretch logic, how deep we will dive into the absurd, all in the name of understanding and control. The air tastes of damp stone and stale fear, a cold that seeps not just into your bones but into the very soul of this chamber. Flickering candlelight dances on the rough-hewn stone walls, turning shadows into grotesque, shifting figures that seem to mock the solemnity of the proceedings. You shift on the hard wooden bench, feeling the chill radiate upwards, a constant reminder of the world outside these walls. A heavy silence presses down, punctuated only by the occasional cough, the rustle of a robe, or the soft shuffle of a foot on the stone floor. Your eyes are drawn to a corner, where a scruffy hound is tied with a heavy rope, its body awkwardly positioned. Its sides heave with each breath, its panting a raw animal sound that cuts through the human hush. Its wide, bewildered eyes glance around, catching the flickering light for a fleeting moment, reflecting a silent confusion that stands in stark contrast to the grim determination etched on the faces of the men surrounding it. You feel the collective weight of human desperation here, a tangible presence in the room. It's a palpable yearning to impose order on a world that feels increasingly out of control. Plague stalks the villages, famine gnaws at bellies, and violence erupts with terrifying regularity. In this chamber, you understand, even the smallest creature, this innocent dog, or an unseen insect, can become the focus of immense conviction and chilling fear, deemed an enemy of God and man. The tension in the air is thick, almost suffocating, charged with the belief that this meticulous, bizarre justice is the only way to appease an angry heaven, to reclaim some semblance of control. Every furrowed brow, every whispered consultation between the robed figures, every precise legal point presented, seems designed to contain the terrifying randomness of existence, to name an enemy, to claim a victory, no matter how absurd the defendant. It's a desperate plea, a ritual to restore balance, even if that balance is built upon the fate of an animal who understands nothing but the fear in human eyes. You leave with a chill that has nothing to do with the stone, a quiet understanding of how desperately fragile the human grasp on order can be, and how quickly the inexplicable can transform into the condemned. The acrid scent of wood smoke stings your nostrils, sharp and biting, mingling with the heavy, unwashed smell of the crowd pressing in around you. You're deep within the bustling town square, not for a market day, but for something far more grim, more profound. A palpable anticipation hangs in the air, thick and almost suffocating, a silent, communal understanding among hundreds of onlookers that justice, however strange, however bewildering, is about to be publicly served. You feel the relentless jostle of bodies, the rough wool of cloaks rubbing against your own coarse tunic, as people crane their necks, straining for a better view. All eyes are fixed, unblinking, on the narrow lane that twists from the courthouse towards the open square. A low murmur begins to ripple through the throng, growing louder, swelling into a collective, indrawn gasp as the procession finally comes into view. First, the solemn figures of the court officials, then the guards, and then the condemned. A magnificent bull, its hide a rich, dark brown, its powerful muscles tensing with every reluctant step, is being led forward. Its massive head, usually held with stubborn bovine pride, is now bowed low, pulled by thick, chafing ropes. Several burly men strain against its immense strength, their veins bulging in their necks and arms, their feet slipping slightly in the muddy churn of the cobblestones as they struggle to control the beast. The insistent clatter of its heavy hooves on the stones echoes sharply through the square, a deep, rhythmic sound that vibrates through your very chest, a primal beat. Its wide, dark eyes roll wildly, filled with a deep, unfathomable terror, the sheer confusion of its predicament etched into its bewildered gaze. It snorts, a deep, guttural sound, hot breath steaming in the chill air, pulling against its cruel bonds with desperate, uncomprehending force. You feel a strange, unsettling flicker of pity, a sharp pang in your gut for this powerful creature, utterly lost in a human drama it cannot even begin to comprehend. The crowd erupts, a complex wave of sound washing over you. Part cheer, part collective sigh of grim relief, part raw, morbid fascination. You see the faces around you, contorted by a fierce mix of emotions. Some are grimly satisfied, their mouths set in hard, unforgiving lines. Others watch with wide, almost glazed eyes, drawn completely into the stark spectacle. Children, wide-eyed and hushed, cling to their mothers' skirts, their small faces reflecting a mixture of awe and primal fear, absorbing the severe lesson. This is it, the stark, undeniable reality of medieval justice, a grim, moral lesson unfolding before every single eye. The bull's heavy, frantic breathing, its bewildered, desperate struggle, the unrelenting tension in the ropes. Every detail is amplified by the heavy silence of the judges, the solemnity of the priests at the front of the procession, their prayers a low drone against the animal's misery. This isn't just a simple punishment, it's a public penance, a dramatic purification, a loud, clear declaration that order will be maintained, that the natural world can and will be brought to heel, even if it means accusing and condemning a creature of pure instinct. The immense weight of this bizarre ritual presses down on you, a stark reminder of a world where man's desperate, all-consuming need for control stretched even to the very animals he depended upon for his survival, bending reality to his will. The clatter of hooves finally fades into the hushed, almost reverent anticipation of the final, defining act. The silence is heavy, thick with the scent of raw earth and a metallic tang. A collective gasp sucks all sound from the square, leaving only the frantic beating of your heart. Your gaze is fixed on the condemned bull, dragged to a crude wooden block. Its wide, dark eyes dart wildly, a strange, numb resignation replacing its terror. A sight more heartbreaking than fear itself. You hear the creak of rope, then the heavy footsteps of the executioner, a grim figure cloaked in coarse fabric. The glint of polished steel catches the dull light. A massive axe, its edge terrifyingly keen. Your heart hammers as he raises it high, a menacing silhouette against the pale sky. For a split second, time seems to stop. A sickening, chilling thud reverberates through your chest, brutally blunt and final. It's followed by a raw cry, cut short and swallowed by the shocked silence. The metallic tang in the air intensifies, the unmistakable, cloying smell of fresh blood. A long, drawn-out sigh escapes the populace, a sound of release, relief, or an unsettling mixture of both. A shiver runs down your spine, not just from the cold, but from the visceral act you've witnessed. For many, there's a visible release of tension, a grim satisfaction. They believe balance has been restored, the natural order righted. This isn't just punishment, it's a symbolic cleansing, a scapegoat offering meant to appease angry gods and bring an end to misfortune. But for you, an uneasy sense lingers. The overwhelming absurdity of applying human law to an uncomprehending beast clashes with the ritual's solemnity. You see relief in others but feel a hollow echo of injustice. As you walk away, the image of the felled beast burned into your mind. You ponder the potent human need for meaning and control. How it can twist reason into such a bizarre spectacle, turning an animal into a condemned scapegoat for all of humanity's unseen woes. It's a strange comfort in tradition, shadowed by a profound, disturbing absurdity. The dry, papery scent of ancient documents fills the air as you run your fingers over brittle parchment. Here, amidst towering stacks of leather-bound tomes, you delve into the meticulous records of past injustices, not against men, but against nature itself. You decipher faded script on a summons, formally addressed to the collective of locusts, ordering them to court for destroying a harvest. Another document details the earnest defense for a family of rats accused of larceny. The precision is bewildering. You imagine lawyers in scratchy robes arguing with profound seriousness before stern judges, debating the culpability of a swarm of insects or a single pig. They constructed rational legal frameworks around creatures driven purely by instinct. This wasn't mere farce, it was a desperate attempt to impose human order on the chaotic forces of the natural world. In an era of plague and famine, where divine and demonic forces were tangible realities, every blight needed a cause and a righteous judgment. It shows a profound yearning for control, applying intricate intellectual rigor to the utterly irrational. You ponder the vast chasm between human logic and the untamed world, and how, in our desperate search for meaning, we create the most elaborate and baffling structures of all. The air in this new place is not dry and dusty, but thick, with a damp chill of stone and the metallic tang of old fear. You feel it immediately, a heavy cloak of cold that seeps deeper than any fabric could, settling into your bones. The flickering light from a single, sputtering torch only deepens the gloom, casting dancing, grotesque shadows on the rough-hewn walls. Here, there are no stacks of parchment, no measured arguments, only the raw, inescapable reality of medieval human justice, stripped bare. You hear it first, a low moan, barely a whisper, echoing from deeper within the gloom. It's a sound that scrapes at your nerves, a primal utterance of suffering that makes your stomach clench. You see the outline of cells, iron bars separating you from the unseen occupants within. The pervasive stench of unwashed bodies, stale urine, and cold despair fills your nostrils, a constant sickening reminder of the human cost of wrongdoing. This is where human justice resides, a stark, brutal contrast to the meticulous courtrooms for snails and pigs you just witnessed. Remember those earnest lawyers, poring over documents, debating the culpability of a rat or a swarm of locusts, ensuring every procedural right was observed? You recall the lengthy, intricate arguments, the almost farcical concern for due process, for creatures incapable of understanding it. Here, for a human, such luxuries are unimaginable. You glimpse crude, rusted instruments hanging on a distant wall, their shapes ominous even in the dim light, and you don't need explanations to understand their brutal purpose. There's no legal counsel appointed here for a suspected thief or a peasant accused of poaching. No lengthy debates about intent. The process is swift, the judgment often brutal. You pass by a figure slumped against a wall, chained at the wrist and ankle, their face a mask of hunger and pain. Their eyes meet yours for a fleeting moment, hollow and vacant, reflecting a silent plea, a profound weariness. Outside, the stocks or gallows await. A pig's perceived sacrilege might warrant a formal trial, a defense, even an appeal. A human's desperate act of stealing bread, however, often leads to this damp, freezing hole, or a public spectacle of suffering designed to instill fear and obedience. It makes you truly feel the alien ethical landscape of this era, where the boundaries of morality and justice are drawn in profoundly different ways. What value is placed on an animal's right to due process, when a human's life is so cheaply bought and swiftly ended? You ponder the profound differences in perceived worth and suffering, and the chilling, arbitrary nature of what truly counts as justice. A cold draft whispers past your ear, carrying not a scent, but an echo, a subtle vibration, in the very fabric of time. You stand now in a quiet space, far removed from the clamor of the execution square or the damp chill of the dungeon, but the images, the sensations, linger, clinging to your thoughts like persistent shadows. You've journeyed through a world where pigs were tried for murder, where rats received formal summons, and where a bull's execution was a public cleansing, a spectacle meant to appease unseen forces. What does this strange, bewildering history truly tell us about the medieval mind? You feel a profound sense of their pervasive anxieties, their constant struggle against forces they couldn't possibly comprehend. Devastating plague, gnawing famine, unpredictable weather patterns that meant life or death. Their faith wasn't merely a comforting belief. It was an all-encompassing explanation, a precise, intricate lens through which they understood every event, every misfortune, every unexplained phenomenon. If God was omnipotent and just, then why did crops fail so catastrophically? Why did children sicken and die without cause? The answers, inevitably, pointed to supernatural influence, to the direct actions of demons, or to a breakdown of moral order in the very fabric of creation itself. This meant the legal and spiritual realms weren't separate entities at all. They were intricately, irrevocably woven together. A plague of locusts wasn't simply a natural disaster. It was a divine punishment, a curse, demanding not just practical solutions, but also a rigorous legal prosecution and an ecclesiastical exorcism. You sense the enormous intellectual and emotional labor involved in crafting such elaborate, seemingly bizarre systems. A desperate, almost frantic search for order in a world that felt perpetually on the brink of chaos, a world where random chance was anathema. It's an utterly alien way of thinking about morality, responsibility, and the natural world, one that imputed intent and culpability even to the mindless gnawing of a worm. You feel a strange wonder, almost a profound bewilderment, at this worldview, so profoundly different from your own, yet so utterly human in its desperate, all-consuming quest for understanding and control. You realize how deeply rooted the human need is to impose meaning, to construct a coherent narrative, even where none logically exists, particularly when faced with forces beyond our immediate comprehension or control. This quest for order, even in its most absurd manifestations, is a testament to the enduring human spirit. The chill air no longer carries the stench of fear or the metallic tang of blood, but a quieter, more profound echo. You feel it in your mind, a persistent whisper of the strange events you've witnessed, the trials of creatures who knew no law but instinct. You've journeyed through the medieval mind, seen its desperate attempts to grasp control, but now, a deeper question settles upon you, a feeling that resonates beyond the initial absurdity. Why these elaborate rituals? Why lawyers for locusts, or formal court proceedings for pigs? It's easy to dismiss it as pure superstition, a crude error of a less enlightened time. Yet, look closer. You see a profound, perhaps unconscious human need to communicate with the animal kingdom, to bring it into the fold of human understanding, however bizarrely. The very act of putting an animal on trial, of assigning it a lawyer, of formally condemning or excommunicating it, wasn't just about punishment. It was an attempt to make sense of the inexplicable, to dialogue with forces that impacted their lives so profoundly. It was a desperate plea for the natural world to adhere to human rules, a recognition, however twisted, of its immense power and influence. Despite the fear, the accusations, the brutal verdicts, there was an underlying, unspoken bond. These animals, whether cattle, pests, or pets, were not just resources. They were, in a strange way, participants in the human drama of survival. They were deemed significant enough to possess moral culpability, to be instruments of divine will or demonic malice. This wasn't just fear of the unknown. It was a strange, almost reluctant respect for creatures seen as integral to their world, capable of influencing their fate. It's an unsettling thought, how closely linked our lives were, and still are, to the wild, untamed forces of nature, even when we try to bend them to our will. You reflect on our own justice systems today, our continuing struggles to define right and wrong, to grapple with the inexplicable. Our relationship with nature is still fraught with attempts to control, to manage, to impose our will, often with little true understanding. The medieval trials, for all their strangeness, highlight a timeless human struggle to find meaning in chaos, to define our place in a world that often defies our comprehension. It leaves you with a lasting impression of the profound, often unsettling beauty and terror of the human experience itself, always striving for order, always seeking understanding, even in the face of the vast, indifferent mystery of existence. The year is 1347. You step into the castle's inner keep, and the first thing that hits you is the cold. Not just a simple chill, but a deep, bone-gnawing dampness that seems to radiate from the very stone walls themselves. The air is heavy, carrying the faint, earthy scent of ancient mortar and something else, something metallic and old, like forgotten iron. Your boots echo on the flagstones, the sound sharp and unnervingly loud, bouncing off the towering walls, then fading into the vast, cavernous spaces above. You walk with a measured pace, trying to appear calm, but your skin prickles. Every shadow seems to hold a pair of eyes. Every low murmur from a distant chamber seems loaded with unspoken meaning. You're new to this world, this secretive dance of courtly intrigue, and the weight of unseen observation presses down on you, a constant, unsettling presence. You pass a group of men-at-arms, their gazes flicking over you with an almost imperceptible scrutiny before returning to their quiet conversation. You try to read their expressions, to glean any hint of true loyalty, but their faces are carefully blank, masks of indifference. Your guide, a man whose eyes miss nothing, walks silently beside you. He points out a narrow, winding staircase, then a heavy oak door, his gestures economical, his voice a low, gravelly whisper that seems to cling to the stone. You notice the way he subtly inclines his head when a richly dressed noble passes, a fleeting deferment that hides layers of unsaid words. The low hum of the castle, a constant symphony of distant footsteps, muffled voices, and the creak of old wood, begins to take on a new meaning. Every sound could be a revelation if you only knew how to listen, or a trap, waiting to ensnare the unwary. You feel the chilling truth settle upon you. In these echoing stone walls, trust is a fragile thing, rarer and more precious than gold. Loyalties shift like the shadows cast by the torches, dancing and elusive, never quite what they seem. You are now part of this complex, dangerous game, where what is said is often less important than what is left unsaid, and where knowing who truly watches you is a matter of life and death. The cold stone whispers its secrets, if only you dare to listen close enough, and the air itself feels thick with the untold stories of power, betrayal, and survival. It's a world where silence speaks volumes, and where the echoes of power resonate long after the words are forgotten. The scent of old wax and damp stone fills your nostrils. Heavy and still in this confined, torch-lit chamber, you feel the cold seeping through your cloak, a chill that has nothing to do with the air. but everything to do with the moment. Your hand rests on the rough, cold metal of a cross, feeling the sharp edges press into your palm. Before you, a single, severe face watches, its eyes unblinking, seeming to pierce straight through to your very soul. You hear the low, deliberate words of the oath, a series of ancient vows whispered in the flickering light. Each word, each clause, is a chain binding you tighter, not just to a cause, but to a life shrouded in deception. You repeat the final, solemn phrase, the words feeling foreign and heavy on your tongue, sealing your commitment. As the sound dies, a profound, cold dread settles deep in your gut, a realization that this isn't merely a promise, but a complete severance from your former self, from truth as you once knew it. Now, you walk the castle halls differently. The weight of secrecy is a constant, crushing burden, always there, just beneath your skin. Every casual conversation is a performance, every smile, a carefully crafted mask. You feel the isolation, a chilling sense that you can truly trust no one, and that no one can truly trust the real you. The faces of those you once held dear flash through your mind, now figures you must actively deceive. Always. You observe others with a heightened, almost frantic intensity, searching for hidden meanings in their gestures, their glances, terrified that they too are playing a similar game. The fear of exposure gnaws at you, a constant low thrum beneath your every thought. A misplaced word, an unguarded glance, a slip in your carefully constructed facade. Any could mean not just your death, but the ruination of everything you've sworn to protect. This insidious fear forces moral compromises, small corrosive decisions that chip away at your very being. You know with a chilling certainty that you will have to lie, betray, perhaps even cause harm, all for the sake of the kingdom, for this greater good that now dictates your every breath. You are no longer just yourself. You are a secret, a weapon, a shadow moving through a world of shadows. And the truest cost of this life, you realize, is not just what you might lose, but who you might cease to be. The air hits you first, a thick, swirling concoction of pungent spices, ginger and cinnamon, mingling with the sharper tang of raw wool, the greasy scent of roasting meat, and the ever-present, earthy smell of damp cobblestones. You're plunged into a swirling vortex of sound and sensation, a medieval market in full, cacophonous swing. A nearby vendor bellows about his fresh fish, his voice almost swallowed by the clamor of haggling, the bleating of a goat, the distant ring of a blacksmith's hammer, and the ceaseless chatter of hundreds of voices. You move through the throng, feeling the constant press of bodies against your cloak, the rough fabric of a peasant's tunic brushing your arm, the hurried jostle of a passing cart almost knocking you off balance. Your senses are stretched thin, every sight and sound a potential source of information, or a distraction, or worse, a trap. You keep your gaze moving, never quite settling, absorbing everything while appearing to absorb nothing. Your face is a carefully constructed mask of casual indifference, just another face in this endless sea of humanity. You drift past a stall piled high with gleaming apples, pretending to admire their color, but your ears are strained, listening to the low, quick exchange between two merchants just beyond. A snippet of a name, a mention of a delivery, a grumble about new taxes. Each fragment is a piece of a larger, unseen puzzle. You subtly shift your weight, feigning interest in a bolt of rough linen, allowing yourself to be carried along by the flow of people, always listening, always scanning. A group of heavily armed guards passes, their mail clinking rhythmically, their eyes sweeping the crowd with a practiced, intimidating slowness. Your breath hitches almost imperceptibly, your body tensing, before you force yourself to relax, to blend. The strain is immense, a constant, low thrum beneath your skin. Every muscle in your face aches from maintaining that invisible facade. Every nerve ending is alert, overstimulated. Your mind races, filtering the overwhelming noise, extracting keywords, cataloging faces, noting glances. You catch the hurried, anxious glance between two women exchanging hushed words about a new decree from the Lord. You observe the subtle, almost imperceptible hand gesture a man makes to his companion as they disappear into a narrow alleyway. Each detail, however small, is filed away, a potential thread in the complex tapestry of courtly intrigue. This bustling chaos is your canvas, your hunting ground. And in this vibrant, overwhelming public square, amidst the honest commerce and daily lives, you are a ghost, observing, listening, collecting, always vigilant, always unseen, always alone in your purpose. The market, so full of life and noise, also becomes the loneliest place on earth, a stage where you are both performer and silent, unyielding audience. The air in the great hall hits you first, a complex layering of scents. A heady perfume of rosewater and smoldering incense tries, and mostly fails, to mask the deeper, more pervasive odors of roasting game, stale wine, and, if you pay close attention, the persistent tang of underlying dampness from the vast stone structure itself. You step into the space, marveling at the vibrant tapestries depicting heroic hunts, their colors still rich against the years, the polished oak tables gleaming in the flickering torchlight. Yet, even amidst this opulence, you notice the subtle grime in the crevices of the carved wood, the faint sheen of grease on the flagstones where countless meals have been served. You move with a practiced grace, adopting a carefully constructed role that grants you access without drawing undue attention. You observe the rigid social hierarchy in every glance, every deferential nod, every hushed tone. The Lord, a formidable figure in velvet and fur, sits at the head of the table, his laughter booming. His eyes, however, are constantly assessing, missing nothing. The ladies, adorned in silk and jewels, exchange polite, brittle smiles, their words light, but their eyes sharp, perpetually judging. You navigate this intricate dance, a ghost among the nobility, every nerve alert to the unseen currents flowing beneath the polished surface. You pretend to adjust a hanging tapestry, your eyes scanning the faces, your ears strained to catch snippets of conversation. A hushed aside about a neighboring baron, a hurried whisper concerning a messenger, a casual mention of a new tax. The words are guarded, veiled in courtly pleasantries. But you seek the cracks, the subtle shifts in tone, the momentary tightening of a jaw, the flicker of anxiety in an otherwise calm gaze. You watch as a lady dismisses a servant with a curt hand gesture. The servant's face betrays only rigid obedience, but their eyes hold a flash of resentment. These small observations are your currency, your very survival. The psychological toll is immense. You feel the constant thrum of adrenaline, the sheer exhaustion of maintaining a fabricated identity under the scrutiny of so many powerful, suspicious eyes. Every word you speak, every movement you make, is carefully calculated. Your own thoughts feel like treacherous whispers, constantly on guard, afraid to betray the truth. The burden of this deception, the profound isolation of living a lie among people you must both observe and fool, presses down on you, heavy and unrelenting. You yearn for a single moment of genuine ease, a breath free of calculated performance. But in this house of secrets, such a luxury simply does not exist. It makes you wonder how long one can truly endure such a life, where the deepest truth you hold is also your greatest danger. The sharp metallic tang of fresh ink hits you first, mingling with the dry, earthy scent of aging parchment and the faint, sweet smell of melted wax. You're in a small, dimly lit chamber, tucked away deep within the castle's thick stone walls, a place where secrets are born and deciphered. The only light comes from a single sputtering candle, its flame casting long, dancing shadows that make the piles of paper and scattered quills seem to writhe. The air is still, heavy with the quiet intensity of your task. You feel the rough, uneven texture of the parchment beneath your fingertips, a delicate skin holding hidden truths. Your hand, steady and practiced, grips a quill, its tip freshly cut, poised above the page. You begin to form the letters, not in a straightforward script, but in a series of carefully chosen symbols, each one a tiny puzzle piece in a much larger, more dangerous game. Your breath is held, your focus absolute, every stroke of the quill deliberate, precise. The soft scratch of the feather on the paper is the loudest sound in the room, a rhythmic counterpoint to the pounding of your own heart. This isn't just writing, it's an intricate dance between concealment and revelation. You're not simply transcribing words, but weaving them into a complex code, a hidden language meant only for specific eyes. Perhaps you're drafting a letter, its surface message innocuous, a mundane update on harvests, but beneath it, in the spacing of words, the slant of letters, or a seemingly random smudge of ink, lies a vital piece of intelligence, a warning or a command. Or maybe you're not writing at all, but copying, meticulously replicating a royal seal, pressing the heated wax, ensuring every minute imperfection, every distinctive flaw, is perfectly rendered. A single slip of the hand, a slight tremor, a misaligned impression, any could expose not just this document, but an entire network, unraveling weeks, months, even years of painstaking work, leading directly to capture, to ruin, to death. You feel the immense intellectual strain, the constant pressure behind your eyes. Your mind races, decrypting a message just received, sifting through its seemingly innocent words for the hidden meaning, for the coded phrase that unlocks its true intent. You hold it up to the flickering light, searching for watermarks, for subtle impressions on the paper, for any sign of tampering. The fear is a cold, constant companion, a tightening in your chest. Every decision, every tiny detail, carries the weight of catastrophic error. The consequences are too dire to contemplate, so you push them down, focusing only on the task at hand, on the delicate balance between ink and parchment, truth and deception. This silent, solitary craft, you realize, holds more power than any sword or army. It's the power of hidden knowledge, the silent forging of destinies, all conducted under the watchful, flickering gaze of a single candle. The biting wind whips across your exposed skin, carrying the sharp, damp scent of wet earth and distant, resinous pine needles. You can taste the grit and chill on your lips, feel it prickling at your eyes, forcing you to squint against the relentless gusts. Your legs ache with every churning step, the unforgiving mud, a thick, greasy paste, sucking at your heavy leather boots with a relentless, hungry sound, threatening to pull you under with each agonizing effort. The very ground seems to conspire against you, each uneven root and treacherous stone, a potential trap in the deepening twilight. Clutched beneath your threadbare tunic, near your heart, a sealed message, small but heavy with the fate of a kingdom, chafes against your skin, a constant, physical reminder of why you endure this torment. Your breath comes in ragged gasps, each one clouding the cold air, a fleeting plume of visible exhaustion. The forest presses in, a dark, silent wall on either side of the narrow, winding track, its ancient trees groaning and creaking in the wind, sounding almost like distant, mournful cries. Every snapping twig, every rustle in the undergrowth, makes your hand instinctively drift to the hilt of your worn dagger. Is it just a deer, disturbed by your passage, or the shadow of a bandit, a scout from a hostile lord waiting in ambush? The vastness of the untamed land stretches before you, an endless, indifferent expanse. You are utterly alone, a solitary speck in a world that cares nothing for your mission, your life. The profound isolation gnaws at you, a cold, empty ache that rivals the gnawing hunger in your belly, a dull, persistent companion that whispers of warmth and forgotten food. But the fear of failure, of capture, of the precious message falling into the wrong hands, is a sharper, more piercing pain, a constant, urgent spur. You push onward, your shoulders slumped with fatigue, your body screaming for rest, but a relentless, desperate drive fuels your weary limbs. You must deliver. You will deliver. The resilience demanded by this secret world is not merely physical. It is a profound endurance of spirit, a constant battle against despair, against the overwhelming odds, all for words penned on a scrap of parchment. It's a stark reminder of the hidden sacrifices, the unseen battles fought by those who carry the kingdom's secrets, where your body is merely a vessel, and your will, the true unbreakable weapon. The subtle scent of rose oil and rich wine fills the air around you, warm and intoxicating. You feel the soft press of velvet against your skin as you lean closer, the flickering candlelight painting deceptive shadows across the face before you. Your hand lingers, feather-light, on a silken sleeve, a gesture of tenderness that hides a mind coldly calculating every breath, every murmured word. The fire in the hearth crackles, its warmth, a stark contrast to the chill that resides deep within your own heart, a constant, unsettling reminder of your true purpose. You meet their gaze across the polished table, a carefully crafted expression of admiration and affection in your eyes, mirroring the easy smile on your lips. You feel the weight of their trusting hand in yours, their fingers intertwining with yours, a seemingly innocent connection that sends a shiver down your arm, both real and manufactured. Their voice, low and confidential, shares a snippet of court gossip, a seemingly trivial detail about a rival lord's movements, or a powerful minister's discontent regarding a new policy. Each word, each pause, each unconscious gesture of their free hand, is a thread you meticulously unravel, an opening you gently widen, always with a soft smile, always with a comforting touch, drawing them deeper into your carefully fabricated intimacy. You offer a knowing glance, a conspiratorial whisper about shared confidences, planting the seed of an idea, a doubt, a piece of misinformation that subtly serves your true hidden agenda. You watch their face for the fleeting reactions, the widening of their eyes, the slight furrow of their brow cataloging every tell. The exquisite pain of this act gnaws at you, a bitter taste at the back of your throat that no amount of sweet wine can wash away. You feel the warmth of their proximity, the genuine human connection that could be, if only you weren't a weapon, a tool in a larger, more brutal game. Every tender word you utter, every caress you bestow feels like a profound betrayal, not just of them, but of the very core of who you once were. You see the vulnerability in their eyes, the growing, innocent trust, and a cold wave of self-loathing washes over you, momentarily threatening to crack your impeccable facade. Yet, you push it down, deep into the recesses of your being. The kingdom, your solemn oath, demands this sacrifice, this profound moral compromise, this constant erosion of your soul. You are a puppet master, pulling invisible strings, watching the subtle reactions, the slight widening of their eyes, as a piece of crucial, unwitting information inadvertently slips past their guard, landing softly in your waiting mind. Beauty, you realize, can be the most potent and insidious of weapons in this court. It lulls, it disarms, it invites a dangerous closeness, an emotional vulnerability that makes any eventual betrayal all the more devastating and effective. The purpose behind your warm embrace is sharp, cold, and utterly deadly, masked by the most human of gestures. It makes you question where the real person ends and the crafted deception truly begins. How much of yourself can you truly sacrifice? How many pieces can you give away before there is nothing left but the hollow shell of a shadow, forever adrift between truth and lies? The heavy hand on your shoulder is not a friendly one. It grips with a cold, unyielding force, turning you roughly. The air in the grand hall, moments ago filled with the murmur of courtly pleasantries and the distant strains of a lute, suddenly thickens, growing heavy, cold as a winter tomb, even amidst the roaring fire in the hearth. A profound, unnatural silence descends, swallowing all sound, amplifying the frantic, desperate beat of your own heart against your ribs until it feels like a drum. Every eye in the room is now fixed on you, not with the usual indifference or veiled scrutiny, but with a harsh, unblinking glare of condemnation, a collective judgment that seems to strip you bare. You see it in the Lord's face, usually so impassive, now a mask of cold fury, his lips a thin line. You catch the horrified, utterly betrayed expression of the one you had so carefully cultivated, their eyes wide with dawning, agonizing realization, reflecting a pain you yourself inflicted. That shattering trust hits you like a physical blow, a gaping wound where intimacy once stood. The deception, your true identity, everything you've hidden beneath layers of charm and false affection, is suddenly laid bare, exposed to the harsh, unforgiving glare of courtly justice. A wave of suffocating shame washes over you, burning hot and icy cold at once, making your skin prickle with a humiliating flush you desperately try to suppress. Guards, their polished mail glinting in the torchlight, move with swift, silent purpose, closing off every escape route, their faces grim, their hands already on the hilts of their swords. You feel the icy grip of fear, a primal terror that clamps down on your throat, stealing your breath, making your limbs feel heavy and useless, rooted to the flagstones. Your carefully constructed identity, the facade, crumbles into dust around you, leaving you exposed and vulnerable. There is no one to turn to in this moment of absolute truth. No whispered confidant, no hidden ally to offer even a fleeting glance of comfort. You are utterly, terrifyingly alone, adrift in a suffocating sea of accusing stares, the isolation more profound than a dungeon cell. The whispers begin now, a low, venomous hiss through the shocked silence, twisting your name, your actions, your being, into grotesque accusations of treachery and deceit. You can almost feel the chilling dampness of the dungeon walls, the stale air, the ominous shadow of the rack, the cold steel of the executioner's blade in the pale morning light. Your very life, once so meticulously planned, so guarded, now hangs by the thinnest, most fragile of threads, its fate decided by the whims of those whose trust you so cunningly shattered. The game is irrevocably over, and the price, you realize with a sickening clarity, is everything you are and everything you were. This sudden, brutal exposure, this total unraveling, is the ultimate truth of this hidden life. All the careful smiles, the whispered secrets, the fabricated connections, they were all just ephemeral mist, easily dispersed by the harsh winds of discovery, leaving nothing but ruin in their wake. The heavy, cloying scent of beeswax and old, damp stone clings to the air, making each breath feel thick, charged with unspoken gravity. You stand in a secret chamber, its high, vaulted ceiling absorbing all but the lowest whispers, its walls draped in dark, rich tapestries that seem to mute the very world outside. The flickering light from a dozen tall candles casts long, dancing shadows, deepening the lines on the stern faces gathered around the massive, dark oak table. Every powerful figure here, the Lord, his most trusted generals, a wizened advisor, is still, their postures rigid, with an almost terrifying intensity. You feel the silence, a palpable weight that presses down on you, heavier than any armor. It's not an empty silence, but one pregnant with colossal stakes, a fragile moment balanced precariously between certainty and the terrifying unknown. Your eyes are fixed on the center of the table, where a piece of parchment, creased and worn from travel, lies unfolded. Its contents, now revealed, hum with a silent, immense power. You understand, with a chilling dread, that these few lines of script hold the fate of kingdoms, the lives of countless men, the very future. You watch the faces. A general's hand clenches slowly into a fist on the tabletop, his knuckles white. The Lord's jaw is set, his gaze distant, piercing through the room, as if already seeing the battlefields that might soon erupt. The advisor, usually prone to murmuring, is utterly still, his eyes wide and fixed, absorbing the full weight of the intelligence. No one speaks. There's no need for words. The message has already been delivered, understood, and its chilling implications have sunk deep into every soul present. This is the immense power of knowledge, you realize, a double-edged sword that can bring glory or devastating ruin. The fear of what is to come, the agonizing burden of the decision that must now be made, hangs in the stillness. It's a silence before a storm, before the clash of steel, before the screams of men. It's the silence that precedes monumental decisions, a moment stretched taut with the tension of lives irrevocably changed. You feel the crushing responsibility of simply being in this room, witnessing this precipice. You understand now that intelligence is not just a collection of facts. It is a force that shapes destiny, demanding a terrifying courage to wield. The aroma of hearth smoke and stale ale hangs heavy in the air, a familiar, comforting scent for most, but for you, it's just another layer on a world that never truly feels real. You sit alone by a window in a quiet corner of a humble inn, watching the slow, unremarkable flow of village life outside. The gentle laughter of children at play, the distant call of a vendor, the soft clatter of hooves on the dirt road. These sounds, once merely background noise, now resonate with a strange, almost alien normalcy you can no longer truly inhabit. Even now, years removed from the active game, the low murmur of voices makes your head subtly turn, your eyes instinctively assessing the shift in a posture, the quickness of a glance. Your gaze still sweeps for exits, for potential threats, for the telltale signs of hidden intent, even when there is none. The constant vigilance, once a vital tool for survival, has become an unbreakable habit, an unseen scar etched deep into your very being. Sleep offers little true respite, often disturbed by echoes of past deceptions, by the faces of those you manipulated, those you betrayed, or those you lost. Trust is a broken mirror within you, fragmented and sharp, reflecting only suspicion. You find yourself analyzing every casual gesture, every friendly smile directed your way, searching for the underlying motive, the hidden agenda. The world still presents itself as a tapestry of secrets. Even when you no longer need to unravel them, you yearn for true connection, for a soul to bear your heart to shed the crushing weight of the past. But the habit of deception is a cage you built yourself, its bars forged from countless lies. You can speak of the weather, of the crops, of mundane village matters, and you do so with a practiced ease. But the true burden of your past, the kingdom's secrets you still carry, remains unspoken, locked deep within, a heavy, silent presence. The life you once knew, the person you once were, feels like a faded memory, a ghost that sometimes stirs in the quiet hours of the night, a haunting reminder of what was sacrificed. Your identity is a mosaic of fabricated truths, and there are days when you struggle to remember which pieces are truly your own. The peace you helped secure, the kingdom's stability you fought for in the shadows, is a fragile thing, built on your silent sacrifices. No parades celebrated your victories, no songs were sung of your cunning. Your contributions are an invisible force, known only to a precious few who share your burdened silence, or perhaps no one at all. You exist now in a twilight world, neither fully present nor completely absent, a guardian of secrets no longer actively sought, but forever a part of your being, forever changed by the truths you kept and the lies you lived. You live, but you are not truly free. The game is ended, but its echoes resonate through every quiet moment, a profound reminder that some victories are won at the cost of the self, leaving you to ponder the weight of an identity shattered, and the true meaning of peace when it's built upon a life of hidden truths. Hey everyone, if you're watching or listening, hit that like button and subscribe. Let me know in the comments where and what time you're tuning in from. The year is 1347. You wake up in the middle of a medieval winter, but today is unlike any other. The air in this small, smoke-filled hovel is thick, with a strange, potent blend of odors. The sharp, earthy scent of dried herbs hanging from the rafters. The unmistakable tang of stale sweat, and something else. A pervasive, coppery, metallic smell that tightens your stomach and makes your breath catch in your throat. You feel the rough, uneven dirt floor cold beneath your bare feet, the straw rustling as you move, a sound almost swallowed by the low, guttural groans coming from the pallet in the corner. You glance at the village elder, her face a web of ancient lines, illuminated by the flickering, greasy lamplight. Her presence is stern, unyielding, yet you feel an undercurrent of deep, knowing calm that belies the chaos unfolding. She simply nods, her eyes fixed on the laboring woman, then gestures for you to come closer, to truly witness. Your heart hammers against your ribs, a frantic drum in your chest. Your hands, young and inexperienced, feel clammy, trembling slightly as you step into the raw, unmuted heart of life and death. The woman on the pallet is a tangle of sweat-soaked hair and straining limbs, her cries raw, animalistic, filling the small space. There is no comfort here, no gentle words, only the stark, visceral reality of pain pushing against the boundaries of her strength. You see the fear in her wide, unfocused eyes, a mirror to the terror that still grips your own inexperienced heart. The air itself seems to vibrate with her struggle, every muscle in her body contracting with a force that seems impossible. Your initial fear is overwhelming, a dizzying wave of nausea as the metallic scent of blood grows stronger, more pronounced. You want to look away, to hide from this profound, messy ordeal, but the elder's unwavering gaze, her quiet, steady presence, anchors you to the moment. You watch as the elder moves, her hands gnarled and strong, working with a practiced, almost silent efficiency. She is a figure of immense power, guiding, coaxing, battling alongside the woman. You perceive the incredible strength in those hands, the ancient knowledge held within their touch. Then, a new sound cuts through the groans, a faint, desperate cry. Then, another, louder, more insistent. You see it, tiny and fragile, emerging into the dim light. The sheer, breathtaking force of life, born from such profound suffering, unfolds before your eyes. In that instant, your terror gives way to something else, something deeper. A fearful respect, a dawning awe for the primal power held within the midwife's hands, for her ability to navigate this terrifying threshold between worlds, to pull new life from the very edge of death. You stand there, the raw cries of a newborn now piercing the air, the metallic tang of birth still clinging to your senses, and you understand, with a chilling clarity, the immense weight of the life and death that rests in such hands. The pungent scent of damp earth and wood smoke hangs heavy in the air, a familiar backdrop to the low murmur of village life. You walk the muddy lanes, your worn boots sinking slightly with each step, the cold seeping through the thin leather. The wattle and daub houses, their thatched roofs stained with grime, seem to lean in on each other, as if whispering ancient secrets. A distant cough, the clatter of a wooden pail, the fretful cry of a child. These sounds usually fill the air, but now, a subtle shift occurs. A hush, almost imperceptible, begins to ripple through the small community. You see her then, approaching along the winding path. Old Ilara, the village midwife, her back is slightly stooped, her cloak, a patchwork of faded wool, but her steps are steady, purposeful. Her face, a roadmap of deep wrinkles, seems etched with the stories of countless births, countless lives brought into this harsh world, and perhaps some that were lost. Her eyes, keen and dark, miss nothing as she passes, sweeping over the villagers with an unnerving knowingness. As she draws near, you feel the nuanced reactions of those around you. A young mother quickly pulls her child closer, her gaze lowered in deference, almost respect, but a flicker of apprehension dances in her eyes. An older man doffs his cap, his head bowed, yet his movements are stiff, cautious, as if wary of drawing her full attention. A group of women whispering near a well suddenly fall silent, their eyes following her, a mix of awe and fear in their fixed stares. You watch Ilara, observing the small, subtle movements she makes. Her hand instinctively touches a twisted branch over a doorway, a quick, almost unconscious gesture that seems to acknowledge the invisible forces believed to reside within. You recall the hushed tales around hearths of the evil eye, of children born with strange marks, signs interpreted as portents of either blessing or doom, and Alara's role in all of it. Her practical skills in easing a difficult birth, in stemming a bleeding, are undeniable, but often she cloaks these skills in a small symbolic ritual, a murmured prayer over a specific herb, a specific way of tying a piece of string, designed to appease the fearful, superstitious hearts of the villagers. Her reputation, you realize, is a fragile balance. She is the healer, the bringer of life, the one whose touch can ease suffering, yet she also understands the raw, untamed power of birth and death, and that knowledge, in these times, borders dangerously close to the arcane. You sense the underlying tension, the constant watchful eyes, ready to shift from reverence to accusation should a birth go awry, or a child falter. She is respected, yes, but also undeniably feared, a woman who walks the delicate line between village matriarch and potential witch, her wisdom a double-edged sword. It makes you reflect on the strange truth that those who stand closest to life's most primal mysteries are often the most revered, and, paradoxically, the most suspected. The urgent, insistent rap on your door rips through the fragile stillness of the late hour, echoing with a frantic desperation that instantly seizes your heart. You push aside your rough wool blanket, the cold floor biting at your bare feet as you scramble to the latch. The air outside, even in the brief opening, is thick with the damp chill of night and the unspoken panic in the eyes of the young man standing there, his breath ragged, his words tumbling out in a hurried, fearful rush about his wife. You grab your satchel of herbs, feeling the familiar weight of dried leaves and smooth stones, and step out into the oppressive darkness, a sense of cold dread settling deep in your gut. You follow him through the muddy lanes, the dim light of his swinging lantern casting fleeting, monstrous shadows. The small, windowless dwelling is already stifling when you enter, thick with the pungent smell of sweat, fear, and something else, something metallic and raw that promises a long, hard night. A tallow candle, flickering precariously, casts a meager, dancing light across the cramped space, highlighting the terror in the eyes of the women huddled in the corner, murmuring low, desperate prayers. On the straw pallet, the birthing mother writhes, her body a taut bowstring of agony. Her screams are guttural, tearing, each one a raw, unmuted cry that scrapes at your soul, echoing the complete absence of any comfort or relief from the overwhelming pain. You approach, the midwife's grim face a mask of focus, her calloused hands already moving with practiced efficiency. You watch as her fingers, now slick with birth fluids, work tirelessly, guiding, pressing, feeling for the slow, agonizing progress. Every groan from the woman, every strained breath, sends a wave of sympathetic pain through your own body, a stark reminder of the brutal reality of this threshold. The air thickens with the unspoken dread. Beside you, an old woman begins to hum a low, ancient chant, a desperate plea to forces both seen and unseen, a desperate bargain for the lives of both mother and child. You feel the immense pressure, the terrifying precariousness of it all. Two fragile lives teetering on the brink in this dim, smoke-filled hovel. The midwife's eyes, though grim, hold an unwavering determination, her brow furrowed in concentration. The candle flame dances, its tiny light, a flickering beacon against the vast, consuming darkness, both inside and out. In these moments, between agonizing screams and whispered prayers, you truly understand the raw, primal fight for existence. It's a testament to incredible endurance, a brutal reminder of how desperately life claws its way into being. The first slivers of dawn begin to push through the grimy crack in the hovel's wall, casting a weak, gray light that fights with the dying flicker of the tallow candle. The air is still heavy with the scent of dried herbs, sweat, and the sharp, coppery tang of the night's long struggle. But now, cutting through it all is a new sound, a thin, reedy cry, then a more robust wail, piercing the lingering tension. You feel the collective breath, held for so long in the cramped space, finally release. A vast, shuddering sigh of overwhelming relief that ripples through every person present. You watch the father, his face streaked with tears, his shoulders shaking not with despair, but with raw, unadulterated joy as he kneels by the pallet. His hands, rough from the fields, reach out hesitantly, gently, towards the tiny, squalling bundle, now cradled by the exhausted mother. Women who had been murmuring prayers now erupt in joyous exclamations, their voices choked with emotion, their faces wet with tears of happiness. The room, so recently a crucible of agony, now feels impossibly light, filled with a fragile, precious hope. The midwife, old Alara, her face grim with the effort of the long night, slowly rises. Her eyes, red-rimmed and weary, scan the mother, then the baby, a silent assessment that confirms the precarious victory. You see her take a deep, shuddering breath, her entire body sagging with profound exhaustion. Her hands, calloused and strong, are still sticky with birth fluids, bearing the tactile memory of life clinging to her skin. She moves to a basin of cold water, her movements stiff, almost ritualistic, as she cleanses herself. You watch as the water turns faintly pink, washing away the tangible evidence of the night's ordeal. But even in this moment of joyous triumph, you perceive the deep lines around her eyes, the subtle weariness that speaks of countless nights just like this, and others that ended differently. Her spirit carries the unspoken weight of every outcome, every life gained, every life lost. She knows, with a quiet certainty etched into her very soul, that joy is often fleeting in this harsh world, a precious gift to be clutched tightly, while grief is a constant, lurking companion, always ready to reclaim its due. The memory of the chilling stillness that could have been, the mournful wails instead of exultant cries, is never far from her mind. It makes you understand that the true strength of such a person lies not just in their hands, but in their capacity to hold both profound joy and inevitable sorrow within the same heart, always ready for whatever the next urgent knock on the door may bring. The air in Alara's small dwelling is a rich, complex tapestry of scents that immediately surrounds you, familiar and comforting, yet carrying an edge of potent mystery. It's thick with the dry, earthy aroma of countless dried herbs, hanging in neat bundles from the rafters, pungent rosemary, soothing chamomile, sharp-smelling wormwood. Beneath that, you detect the faint, sweet steam of simmering concoctions bubbling gently over the hearth, a mix of roots and leaves turning into healing elixirs. The reassuring warmth of the small, ever-burning fire whispers of refuge from the biting cold outside. You sit on a low stool, feeling the heat radiate onto your shins, watching Alara as she meticulously grinds dried leaves in a stone mortar. Her movements are slow, deliberate, her calloused hands working with a practiced rhythm passed down through generations. A young man enters, his arm wrapped in a crude cloth, a dark, festering wound visible beneath. He approaches her with a mix of quiet desperation and complete trust, his eyes fixed on her as if she holds all the answers to his suffering. You watch as Ilara inspects the wound, her expression serious, her touch surprisingly gentle yet firm. She murmurs something low, perhaps an incantation, perhaps a simple instruction, as she begins to apply a thick, green poultice, its sharp, medicinal scent rising to meet you. A gaunt, pale woman, her face drawn with a lingering cough, waits patiently for her turn, clutching a small, clay pot. Another, older woman, her gaze heavy with unspoken sorrow, seeks advice on barrenness, her voice a whispered plea that only Ilara can hear, her eyes filled with a desperate hope for a child. Ilara listens, her head tilted, her gaze steady and unwavering, her wisdom not just in the herbs, but in the deep understanding of human suffering. You perceive her profound knowledge of the local flora, the secrets hidden in every root and leaf, a knowledge accumulated over centuries, painstakingly learned and meticulously applied. This isn't abstract medicine, it's a living, breathing connection to the earth, the primary source of medical care for every man, woman, and child in this remote village. Her touch, whether it's applying a poultice, offering a bitter-smelling brew for a fever, or simply giving a reassuring nod, is the difference between continued suffering and the faint promise of relief. In this small, humble dwelling, amidst the earthy smells and comforting warmth, you witness the quiet, unwavering dedication of the village healer, a lifeline in a world where ailments often meant a swift, irreversible end. It makes you understand that true healing isn't always found in grand halls, but often in the humble, knowing hands that work with nature's simple gifts, a testament to enduring wisdom and quiet strength. The air in Ilara's small dwelling, usually vibrant with the scent of herbs, now hangs heavy with something else, the low hum of hushed voices, the quiet intensity of secrets. You feel the palpable weight of unspoken burdens, a tangible presence in the cramped space, making your own breath catch. The comforting warmth of the hearth struggles to dispel the emotional chill permeating the room. A young woman sits before Ilara, her head bowed, hands clasped tightly, fingers twisting nervously. Her gaze darts furtively, never quite meeting anyone's eyes, her posture a testament to profound anxiety. You perceive the subtle swelling beneath her rough tunic, a truth she desperately tries to conceal, a secret pregnancy that, in this unforgiving world, could mean ruin. Ilara listens, her face impassive, her dark eyes holding a deep, ancient understanding, offering silent, unjudging solace. Soon, a middle-aged couple enters, their faces etched with a different, quiet despair. They sit close, hands clasped, eyes fixed on Ilara, with a yearning so profound it almost aches. You understand their silent plea, a desperate desire for a child. Ilara offers a small, dried pouch of herbs, her gesture both practical and laden with symbolic hope, acknowledging the immense emotional landscape of their struggle. Later, a woman drawn with exhaustion and sorrow speaks in a low murmur, her voice barely audible, of her milk failing, of her newborn's hungry cries. You feel the profound sense of failure, the quiet despair emanating from her, her maternal identity shaken. Ilara simply nods, her hand resting briefly, gently, on the woman's arm, a gesture of profound empathy. Ilara carries these burdens, these myriad intimate struggles. Her wisdom is often the only solace, the only flicker of hope, in a world with so few options. You perceive the incredible responsibility she bears, navigating the delicate balance between practical guidance and fiercely protecting her community's private lives. She has become an unspoken repository of the village's human condition, a silent keeper of its deepest fears and most fragile hopes. It makes you understand how crucial, how profoundly lonely, is the role of one who witnesses the unvarnished truth of human life, holding its tenderest secrets in a world that offers so little mercy. The biting wind tears at your thin cloak, clawing at your exposed skin, a relentless enemy that seeps into your very bones. You feel the constant chill even inside the cramped, smoke-filled dwellings, where the meager fires offer little comfort against the pervasive cold. Your stomach twists with a familiar, hollow ache, a gnawing hunger that has become a constant companion, shared by every soul in this ravaged village. The once plentiful stores are dwindling, and the lean faces you pass in the muddy lanes reflect a desperate, shared scarcity. A sickly sweet smell, the unmistakable scent of decay and lingering illness, hangs heavy in the air. It clings to every wattle and daub wall, permeates the straw bedding, and catches in your throat with every breath. The coughing of children, once an occasional sound, is now a relentless chorus, their small bodies racked with fevers and weakness. You see Alara, the village midwife, her face usually a bastion of calm, now etched with a profound, almost desperate weariness. The lines of grim resignation around her eyes deepen with each passing day. You follow her into a hovel, the air inside stifling with the odor of sickness. Her usual potent remedies, the poultices of herbs and bitter concoctions, seem to be reduced to futile gestures against the ravages of a sickness that takes hold with an unforgiving grip. You watch her prepare a brew, her hands moving with less certainty, her brow furrowed in a silent plea for strength. The cries of newborns when they come are fainter now, the infants smaller, more fragile, fighting for every breath with a heartbreaking struggle. Mothers, gaunt and weak from hunger and illness themselves, struggle to push life into a world that seems determined to claim it even before it has truly begun. Each birth is more precarious than the last, a terrifying gamble against overwhelming odds. Alara's touch, though still knowing, feels heavier, burdened by the grim reality that her ancient wisdom and potent herbs are often insufficient against the widespread suffering. She moves from one bedside to another, a lone figure battling an invisible enemy, her spirit carrying the immense weight of the village's fight for survival. In such times you realize, even the most revered healer faces not just sickness, but the crushing, indifferent force of a world that offers little quarter, and a stark reminder of how fragile life truly is. The wind outside howls, but the silence inside the small, crowded hovel is far more chilling, thick with unspoken accusations. You feel the cold grip of fear tightening in your gut, a palpable presence that makes the air itself feel thin and sharp. The usual comforting sense of dried herbs now seems suspicious, almost sinister, mingling with the heavy, unwashed smell of the tense villagers. Your eyes meet Alara's, and you see it reflected there, the unsettling fear of being questioned, of being misunderstood. Her face, usually a map of ancient wisdom, is now etched with a profound vulnerability. She stands before a new figure, a man in dark robes, his gaze piercing, unyielding. He is not from the village, his presence a stark, imposing anomaly. This is the Inquisitor, his very presence casting a dark, suffocating shadow over everything. A difficult birth, just days past, has ended in tragedy. The mother survived, but the infant, born small and malformed, did not. Now, instead of the usual shared sorrow, whispers, like venomous serpents, slither through the crowd. You hear them, faint but undeniable. Sorcery, dark arts, unnatural causes. The Inquisitor's eyes, cold and precise, miss nothing, lingering on Ilara, on her hands that once brought life, now under suspicion. Her knowledge, her power, once revered as a gift, now feels like a dangerous liability, misinterpreted through the harsh lens of religious dogma. You witness the subtle shifts in the villagers' expressions. A few still look to Ilara with desperate trust, but many avert their gaze, their faces etched with uncertainty, their fear of the Inquisitor now outweighing their long-held respect for the midwife. You feel the precariousness of her existence, the fragile balance of her reputation threatening to shatter. Her traditional practices, passed down through generations, simple remedies involving herbs and ancient chants, are now viewed through a distorted mirror, appearing as sinister rituals, as acts of witchcraft. The Inquisitor's questions are not spoken, but his presence, his unblinking stare, is a relentless interrogation. Every quiet glance, every movement, every rustle of his robes is a silent accusation. You understand, with a chilling clarity, that in this changing era, wisdom can become a curse, and the power to heal can be tragically misinterpreted as the power to harm. The air is thick with the unspoken threat, the fear of what a single accusation, a single misinterpretation, might unleash. It makes you realize how easily fear and ignorance can twist reverence into condemnation, and how terrifyingly fragile the reputation of a wise woman can be when the world outside your village decides to cast its dark shadow upon you. The air in the small dwelling still carries the rich, complex scent of dried herbs and simmering concoctions, but now, beneath it, there's a new undertone, a subtle sweetness of age, of time itself settling into the wooden beams. You feel the cool, dry press of parchment beneath your fingers as you sort through faded drawings of plants, their Latin names half obscured by years. Beside you, Ilara, the village midwife, sits on her customary stool. Her hands, once so supple and swift, are now visibly gnarled, the knuckles swollen with age, but their movements remain deliberate, full of an ancient, knowing grace as she sorts through a bundle of dried feverfew. You watch her, a young, observant apprentice, eager but still raw. Your eyes track her every gesture, every subtle shift in her expression. She looks at you, her dark eyes, though clouded by years, still hold a profound depth, a quiet challenge, a silent command to truly see. This is not just about learning remedies, it's about inheriting a way of being. She places your hand gently on the rounded belly of a woman, a young mother-to-be who has come for a routine check, her face serene beneath the midwife's touch. You feel the warmth of the skin, the subtle tautness of the life within. Ilara's gnarled fingers cover yours, guiding them, teaching them to discern the delicate curve of a spine, the firm roundness of a head, the shifting, almost fluid position of the baby within. It's a tactile lesson, a direct transfer of knowing that bypasses words, sinking deep into your own nascent instincts. You close your eyes, concentrating, trying to feel what she feels, trying to understand this silent language of life. Later, she shows you how to tie a cord, not just with strength, but with a precise, almost reverent knot, a gesture that seals the first physical separation between mother and child. Your fingers fumble at first, clumsy and hesitant, but her hand steadies yours, her breath a warm, gentle whisper against your ear. You also learn the properties of healing plants, not just their names, but the subtle variations in their scent, the feel of their leaves, the way their roots cling to the earth. Understanding which ones soothe a fever, which staunch blood, which brings sleep. You feel the immense weight of this knowledge, the potential for both healing and, if misused, harm. Beyond the practical lessons, you perceive the unspoken wisdom she imparts, the profound patience for life's slow unfolding, the quiet resilience in the face of loss, the unwavering compassion for human suffering. It's a quiet, profound transfer, a torch being passed, not just of skill, but of spirit, ensuring the continuity of vital care in the heart of the village, a future etched in the lines of her experienced hands, now reflected in your own eager ones. You realize that true knowledge, vital and enduring, is not something written in books, but passed on through touch, through watchful eyes, through the profound unyielding cycle of life itself. The evening air carries the familiar scent of wood smoke, damp earth, and the faint, comforting aroma of simmering stew from a dozen hearths. You stand beside Ilara, the aged midwife, at the open doorway of her small dwelling, looking out over the village. The sun dips low, painting the wattle and daub homes in hues of amber and gold, casting long, familiar shadows across the muddy lanes. Her hands, resting lightly on the rough door frame, are deeply gnarled, the skin thin and brittle, but you feel the immense, quiet strength that still resides within them, a testament to decades of tireless work. Her gaze, though dimmed by years, misses nothing. It sweeps across the thatched roofs, lingering on a window where she once battled for a feverish child, then moves to a distant well where a generation of mothers has gathered, many of whom she helped bring into this very world. You perceive a lifetime of service etched not just on her face, but in the very fabric of her presence. You sense the immense physical challenges she has endured, the long, cold nights spent walking muddy tracks, the sheer physical exertion of difficult births, the relentless battle against sickness without the smallest comfort of modern medicine. But you also feel the profound emotional challenges she has carried. The triumphs of new life, yes, but also the gut-wrenching grief of loss, the whispered confessions of desperate women, the silent despair of families struck by plague or famine. She has absorbed it all, a steadfast beacon of fierce compassion in a brutal, uncertain medieval world. Her shoulders, though stooped, carry an immense, unwavering resilience. She is an unsung heroine, her contributions woven invisibly into the very tapestry of this community. Remembered in the grateful glances, in the healthy cries of the children she delivered, now grown. Her legacy isn't written in dusty tomes or carved in stone monuments. It breathes in the strong young men, tilling the fields she helped them into, laughs in the voices of the women she guided into motherhood, and whispers in the quiet gratitude of countless families she served. She has touched the beginning and, sometimes, the end of countless lives, a quiet testament to enduring humanity. You realize that true strength isn't always loud or celebrated. Sometimes, it's the quiet, unwavering presence of a single individual, standing firm against the tide of suffering, a silent force shaping the very soul of a community, asking nothing in return but the continuation of life itself. Hey everyone, if you're watching or listening, hit that like button and subscribe. Let me know in the comments where and what time you're tuning in from. The year is 1347. You wake up in the middle of a medieval winter. But today, like every day, the sun's first hesitant rays are already slicing through the gaps in your wattle and daub walls. You feel the rough texture of the straw beneath you, the persistent, damp cold seeping up from the packed earth floor. The air inside your small dwelling is thick with the pervasive scent of last night's wood smoke, clinging to your coarse tunic and your hair, a constant reminder of the fight against the biting chill. You push yourself up, your muscles already protesting, stiff from yesterday's toil. Outside, the village is stirring. You hear the distant, vital lowing of the livestock, a deep, resonant sound that speaks of sustenance, and the higher-pitched bleating of sheep. Beneath these sounds, a constant murmur of children's voices begins, a symphony of young life starting its own daily grind. You step out, feeling the chill wind on your face, seeing the gray, unpredictable sky already promising either a meager warmth or a fresh bout of rain. You join your neighbors in the fields, the rough hemp of your rope harness digging into your shoulders as you begin to turn the stubborn earth. Your calloused hands, already thick and strong from years of labor, grip the wooden handles of the hoe, feeling the jarring impact as it bites into the frozen soil. The rhythm of work is primal, shared, the grunt of exertion from the man beside you, the steady scrape of a spade, the soft rhythmic thud of a woman chopping wood at the edge of the common land. Every movement is a direct struggle against the elements, a ceaseless effort to coax life from the unyielding ground. You smell the rich, damp earth, disturbed and turned, a promise of future sustenance, if the sky wills it. You glance up, seeing the faces around you, etched with weariness but also a quiet determination. There's a shared understanding in their eyes, a common fight against the gnawing threat of scarcity that looms over every season. Every sunrise, brings not just light but a fresh, immediate struggle, a dance with an unpredictable world. Yet, in this shared labor, this constant physical battle, you feel the unbreakable connection, the unspoken bond that holds this community, this village together, a tapestry woven from sweat, hope, and an enduring will to survive. It's a life where every sunrise is a testament to resilience, a constant, physical conversation with the land that provides, and often takes away. The rough, insistent press of another body against yours is not an intrusion here, but a familiar comfort. You feel the warmth radiating from those around you, a stark contrast to the biting cold that gnaws at the wattle and daub walls outside. The air is thick with the earthy tang of damp straw, the honest, animal scent of unwashed wool, and a faint, comforting trace of wood smoke from the smoldering hearth. You draw your coarse blanket tighter, listening to the soft, rhythmic breathing of your siblings curled beside you. A low, quiet lullaby, barely a murmur, rises from your mother across the small space, soothing the fretful cries of your youngest sibling. You hear the hushed rustle of straw as your father shifts, a quiet prayer whispered against the encroaching darkness. Later, over a meager bowl of stew, the shared laughter feels richer, more genuine, echoing off the low ceiling, filling the small space with a fleeting warmth that transcends the simple meal. You catch your older sister's eye, a silent understanding passing between you about the day's hard labor, a shared weariness, and a steadfast loyalty. You feel the brushing of hands as a piece of bread is passed, a quiet gesture that speaks volumes of interdependence. The closeness isn't just physical, it's a deep, unspoken current of connection, binding your family together against a harsh and unpredictable world. Survival here is not an individual feat. It's a collective breath, a shared burden, and an unwavering commitment to each other. Every shared meal, every whispered secret, every knowing glance reinforces this truth. You are a single thread in a tightly woven fabric, each dependent on the strength of the whole, knowing that outside these walls, The world demands an unbreakable front, a unity forged in the heat of daily struggle. It makes you realize that in a world that offers so little, the warmth of kinship, the unspoken loyalty of family, is not just a comfort, but the most essential shelter of all. The biting wind whips around you, carrying the sharp, damp scent of ancient stone and something metallic, like distant steel. You stand at the edge of the village, your gaze drawn upward, feeling the oppressive weight of the castle. Its towering, cold stone walls rise from the earth like a jagged mountain, dark and formidable against the gray sky, casting a long, chilling shadow over the familiar fields, over your very existence. The air here, even on a calm day, feels colder, thinner, radiating an almost palpable chill that seems to emanate directly from its massive, unyielding form. You hear it first, a faint, distant bugle call, a sharp, clear note that cuts through the everyday sounds of the village, immediately silencing the lowing cattle and hushed conversations. It's followed by the faint, rhythmic Simon Klitzkone of steel, the metallic symphony of armor and weapons being handled within those unseen walls. Then, sharp and authoritative, you hear the shouts of guards, their voices echoing off the stone, carrying a clear message of command and unyielding order. These aren't the familiar calls of your neighbors. These are the sounds of absolute power. You feel a knot tighten in your stomach, a familiar mixture of awe and profound terror. The castle isn't just a building. It's a living, breathing entity, a constant, looming presence that dictates every aspect of your peasant life. You remember the stories, the edicts, the swift, unquestioning justice meted out from within its high walls. Your life, your harvest, your very right to exist on this land, flows from its distant, absolute authority. You watch a file of men-at-arms, their chainmail glinting, their surcoats bearing the Lord's crest, marching out from the main gate, their movements precise, their faces grim. Their departure stirs a ripple of apprehension through the villagers around you, a simmering tension, a silent question of where they ride and what new decree, what new demand, they might bring upon their return. This imposing fortress stands as a constant reminder of who holds the reins of fate, and how utterly small and vulnerable you are beneath its unblinking, watchful gaze. It makes you understand, with a chilling clarity, that freedom is a luxury you cannot afford, and that power, in this world, is a heavy, cold weight, both crushing and undeniably protective. The dull, persistent ache in your lower back is a familiar companion, a deep throb that began with the first light of dawn, and will likely stay with you until long after the sun sets. You feel the rough hemp of your shirt, sticky with sweat, clinging to your skin as you stoop over the furrowed earth, your hands, calloused and strong, gripping the heavy wooden plow. Every turn of the soil, every pull of the rope, every strained muscle, is a tangible reminder of your unending labor. And as you work, you know with a chilling certainty that the best of this harvest, the fruits of your relentless toil, will not truly be yours. You watch as the Lord's steward, a plump man with a sneer, oversees the collection of the tithes. He points, he directs, his men hefting the fattest sheaves from your communal fields onto his cart. You feel the subtle shift in the air among your neighbors, a quiet resentment, a low hum of frustration, visible in the momentary clenching of a jaw, the downward cast of an eye, swiftly masked by generations of learned submission. Your own family's meager portion, what remains after the Lord's share and the church's due, seems pitifully small by comparison, a stark visual of your place in this unyielding hierarchy. Later, huddled around the hearth, The smell of damp straw and wood smoke fills your small hovel. You taste the coarse, bland rye bread, dry and unforgiving against your tongue. It fills your belly, yes, but offers little comfort, no true satisfaction. The scarcity of meat is a constant, gnawing presence, a deep longing for something richer, more substantial, a memory from, perhaps, a feast day, now distant and almost mythical. You feel the quiet despair in your mother's slumped shoulders, the resigned sighs of your elders. This isn't just physical burden, it's a heavy emotional toll. You defer to a distant master, unseen but ever present, his power absolute. You see the same silent acceptance, the profound resignation, in the weary eyes of your neighbors. This is your fate, defined by an unyielding social order, by the perpetual threat of want, by the knowledge that your best efforts are often siphoned away, leaving you with just enough to survive, to toil, to continue. It's a life where the true harvest is not just grain, but the enduring spirit of a people, constantly pushed to their limits, forever bound by the dictates of those above them, yet always finding a way to persist, to simply be. The relentless grit of the road grinds beneath your worn, leather-bound feet, each step kicking up a fine, choking dust that coats your tongue and prickles your eyes. You feel the constant ache in your calves, the strain in your back, a dull, persistent companion on this arduous journey. The air around you is a potent mix of smells, the honest, pungent scent of unwashed bodies from your fellow travelers, mingled with the damp earth of the path, and a faint, almost ethereal promise of distant incense, a whisper of the holy site that draws you ever onward. You hear the rhythmic chanting of prayers, a low, collective drone that rises and falls with the weary cadence of footsteps. Desperate pleas for intercession, for mercy, for healing, mingle with the ceaseless sounds of the wind whipping across open fields, rustling through sparse trees. A young woman beside you, her face pale and drawn, murmurs a silent rosary, her lips moving with a fervent, unwavering faith. An old man, his staff thudding heavily with each step, limps forward, his eyes fixed on some unseen point on the horizon, a deep, fervent hope shining within them. The landscape is unforgiving, a succession of rolling hills and dense woodlands, each twist in the path potentially hiding danger. You pass crumbling ruins, the skeletal remains of forgotten watchtowers, silent reminders of bandits and hostile territories that must be carefully navigated. Your meager rations are dwindling, the gnawing hunger a constant presence, but the spiritual hunger, the yearning for deliverance, for a miracle, pushes you forward. You feel the immense emotional fortitude required, the sheer willpower to continue, despite the physical hardship, the gnawing doubt. Each sunrise brings not just another day of relentless walking, but a renewed commitment to your purpose. You see the shared determination in the faces around you, the common bond of faith that holds this motley group together, a testament to the human spirit's capacity for endurance when driven by a profound, unwavering hope. This journey is more than just miles covered. It's an act of penance, a physical manifestation of an unshakable belief, a deep desire for spiritual solace in a world rife with suffering. It makes you understand that sometimes the greatest strength lies not in the sword, but in the steadfast heart that simply refuses to stop walking, even when the path is long and the future uncertain. A wave of overwhelming relief washes over you, a profound physical sensation that makes your weary muscles tremble. The air changes instantly, thick with the sweet ancient scent of frankincense and beeswax, mingling with the cool, clean tang of old stone. You step across the hallowed threshold, the grit of the long road falling away from your worn feet, replaced by the smooth, cold flagstones of the sanctuary. The distant, rhythmic clang of a great bell echoes through the vaulted arches, a sound of solemn welcome that vibrates deep within your chest. Your eyes, accustomed to the harsh glare of the open road, adjust to the soft, flickering glow of countless candles, their tiny flames dancing like captured stars. They illuminate rows of kneeling figures, their faces upturned in fervent prayer, etched with a raw devotion that transcends mere words. You hear the hushed murmur of confessions, the soft rustle of rosaries, the low, collective drone of ancient chants that seems to fill every corner of the vast space, comforting and deeply spiritual. You feel the profound sense of communal spirit, a shared yearning for solace, a collective weight of burdens brought from distant lands, all laid down at the feet of the divine. You join them, kneeling on the cold stone, the relief a palpable warmth spreading through your aching limbs, a momentary peace that feels almost miraculous. You witness hands clasped tightly, eyes closed in desperate pleas for healing, for guidance, for forgiveness, all gathered in this sacred embrace. Yet, even as the incense soothes your spirit, a cold dread begins to stir, a subtle unease that tugs at the edges of your momentary peace. Beyond these thick, protective walls, you know the world still lurks, harsh and unforgiving. The memory of the desolate roads, the whispers of bandits, the pervasive threat of sickness, the gnawing hunger that will return once your meager bread is gone. These stark realities await your departure. You feel the cold wind on your face, a phantom sensation, a reminder of the miles that must still be traversed to return to your familiar, demanding life. The peace found within these walls is a precious, fleeting gift, a brief respite before you must once again face the perilous journey back, leaving the sanctuary's embrace for the world's persistent dangers. You realize that while faith can offer profound comfort and hope, it cannot in the end erase the physical hardships and lurking threats of a brutal world. The sanctuary offers a glimpse of heaven, but life demands a return to earth. The sudden, dry, insistent rattle of the leper's bell rips through the usual clamor of the market square, a sound so stark it immediately silences the hawkers, cries, and the chatter of the crowd. You feel an instinctive jolt, pulling your hand back from the merchant's apples, your breath catching in your throat. A wave of collective dread sweeps through the throng, a heavy, palpable silence, replacing the vibrant bustle. Every head turns, not with curiosity, but with a primal, visceral revulsion, a fear that seems to tighten the very air you breathe. You feel the undeniable urge to recoil, to pull your coarse wool cloak tighter around you, to create an immediate, protective distance. The earthy scent of damp straw and wood smoke is abruptly overshadowed by the phantom stench of sickness, even before you see him fully. He emerges from the edge of the clustered villagers, a figure shrouded in a heavy, tattered hood and thick, stained garments, his form deliberately obscured. The small, brass bell, held in a hand wrapped in dark cloth, clinks again with each shuffling, uneven step, a stark, chilling announcement. One, no, 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 no. No, 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 no. You see the villagers quickly make the sign of the cross, their gazes darting away, unwilling to meet his eyes, terrified of drawing ill favor, or worse, the invisible creeping touch of contagion. His voice when it comes is a low, guttural croak, barely audible above the sudden, tense quiet, a desperate, almost animalistic plea for alms. His words are indistinct, but the profound, isolating need, the utter desperation in his posture, is unmistakable. This is not just about hunger, it's about confronting the ultimate fear, the stark, undeniable reality of disease and disability that strips one of dignity and connection. To be a leper in this world, marked by God, is to be utterly alone, an outcast, a living ghost among your own kind. You watch as a young mother quickly pulls her child behind her skirt, her eyes wide with terror, not of the man himself, but of the blight he represents, the living manifestation of a curse that could strike anyone. The pervasive fear of divine wrath, of impurity, defines every interaction, turning natural human sympathy into an overwhelming dread. You fumble for a coin in your pouch, your fingers numb with cold and unease, dropping it quickly into his outstretched, empty bowl, not out of true generosity, but a desperate need to assuage your own discomfort, to complete the ritual, to acknowledge, however briefly, his tormented existence, before you turn swiftly away, back into the uneasy, if still imperfect, warmth of the crowd. The chilling sound of his bell, however, lingers in your mind, a persistent echo, a constant, brutal reminder of the fragile line between health and illness, acceptance and absolute, dehumanizing isolation. It makes you understand how deeply woven fear can be into the fabric of a community, transforming shared humanity into a stark, unforgiving separation. The very air feels heavy, thick with an unspoken tension, a suffocating weight of suspicion that clings to your skin like a damp shroud. You feel a prickling sensation at the back of your neck, a constant, unsettling awareness of unseen eyes. The familiar sense of damp earth and hearth smoke, usually comforting, now seem to carry a faint, metallic tang of fear, a chilling undertone that makes your stomach clench. You walk through the village lanes, and the usual friendly greetings are gone. Now only a low, hushed murmur follows you, a terrified whisper that rises and falls like an insidious tide. You catch snippets of phrases like fragmented shards of ice in the winter air, strange light, the child sickened right after, old ways. Each whisper is a barb, twisting into your gut, building a crescendo of rumor and insinuation around you. You see villagers huddled together, their heads bent, their eyes darting nervously in your direction before quickly looking away. Their gazes are not just cautious, but filled with a chilling mixture of fear and accusation, a judgment already passed without a single word spoken to you directly. The terrifying truth sinks in. You are being singled out. You are now the outsider, the threat, seen through the distorting lens of their growing paranoia. You feel the profound isolation, a sudden, horrifying severance from the community you once knew. Every glance, every averted eye, every hushed conversation is a brick in a wall being built around you, thick and impenetrable. Your heart hammers against your ribs, a frantic drum in your chest, fueled by the chilling terror of facing a society where superstition, rampant and unchallenged, can condemn you without proof, erasing all bonds of trust with a single, terrified whisper. You remember faces, once friendly, now drawn with a mixture of fear and righteousness. You recall shared meals, shared laughter, all seemingly dissolving into nothingness under the crushing weight of their collective belief in dark magic. The psychological torment is immense, a constant gnawing anxiety that threatens to consume your very sanity. How do you fight shadows? How do you argue against fears born of desperation and the unknown? Every rational thought feels futile against the tide of their unwavering, terrified conviction. You stand alone, exposed to the harsh, unforgiving glare of a society that has decided you are an enemy, a danger, based on nothing but the venomous breath of rumor. It makes you truly feel the chilling power of fear, how quickly it can erode common sense, shatter trust, and transform the familiar into the monstrous, leaving you utterly, terrifyingly vulnerable. The air is a riot of smells that hits you instantly, a dizzying blend of everything at once. The rich, pungent aroma of exotic spices, cinnamon, saffron, and pepper, mingles aggressively with the earthy tang of animal dung from the livestock pens. The greasy, mouth-watering scent of roasting meats, spitting over open fires, and the underlying dampness of packed earth and cobblestones. It's an overwhelming, visceral assault on your senses. You're immediately swallowed by the cacophony. A dozen voices shout, bellowing about their wares, their cries almost drowned out by the ceaseless chatter of hundreds of people. You hear the sharp, rhythmic tight clinks of coins changing hands, the high-pitched squeal of a pig, the distant, mournful call of a bird for sale. Fragments of foreign tongues, guttural and unfamiliar, drift past your ears, adding to the dizzying tapestry of sound. A leather-clad merchant haggles fiercely over a bolt of cloth, his voice rising in frustration, then falling into a resigned sigh of agreement. You feel the constant, relentless press of bodies against you, a warm, shifting tide of humanity. You're jostled by a stout peasant carrying a basket of squawking chickens, then brushed by a finely dressed noble, his rich furs leaving a fleeting scent of musk. Your feet navigate the uneven ground, stepping over discarded fruit peels, around puddles, through the thick, swirling dust that rises with every movement. Your eyes dart from stall to stall, overwhelmed by the vibrant colors, bolts of dyed wool, glittering jewelry, polished wooden carvings, piles of glistening fresh vegetables. Each item is a discovery, a tiny thrill in this sprawling, bustling world of commerce. The sheer scale of it all is exhilarating, a vibrant pulse of life and exchange, but it's also profoundly overwhelming. Your head begins to spin with the constant stimulation, the endless sights, sounds, and smells vying for your attention. It's a place where everything is for sale, everything is negotiable, and every encounter holds a spark of opportunity or potential deception. You realize that in this chaotic heart of trade, life isn't just lived, it's actively bought, sold, and relentlessly pursued, a testament to humanity's tireless drive to connect, to acquire, and to simply be, in all its vibrant, overwhelming glory. The air is a chaotic symphony of smells, the cloying sweetness of stale ale, the sharp tang of unwashed bodies, and the underlying reek of sewage from a nearby gutter. But cut through it all, you catch a fleeting whiff of exotic spices, of rich, unfamiliar perfumes, a testament to the dizzying diversity that surrounds you. You're no longer in the familiar, earthy embrace of your village. You're deep within the pulsating heart of a medieval city, a sprawling, bewildering labyrinth of stone and shadow. You feel the constant, jostling press of bodies, a ceaseless tide of humanity that carries you forward whether you will it or not. Your eyes dart, taking in a dizzying array of unfamiliar faces. Here, a merchant in silks you've never seen, his turban a splash of vibrant color, his tongue speaking a language that sounds like song and grit. There, a group of travelers, their skin darker, their garments flowing and strange, their eyes holding tales of lands beyond your wildest imaginings. The cultural shock is a constant thrum beneath your skin, a disorienting blend of fascination and profound unease. As you navigate the narrow, winding streets, the sharp contrasts hit you like blows. One moment, you pass towering guild halls, their carved facades gleaming, the faint scent of fresh bread wafting from a bakery. The next, you're squeezed past crumbling hovels, their doorways dark, revealing glimpses of squalor and desperation. A burst of raucous laughter and drunken shouts erupts from a darkened tavern, its light spilling onto the cobblestones, illuminating figures slumped against the walls. You clutch your meager coin purse tighter, feeling a prickle of fear as you subtly shift away from a figure with shifty eyes and hands too quick, too close, in the press of the crowd. The constant awareness of danger is a cold knot in your stomach. Every shadow seems to hold a potential threat, a desperate beggar, a lurking thief, or simply the harsh indifference of this anonymous world. Yet, intertwined with that fear, is an exhilarating thrill, a potent rush of new experiences. You taste the novelty in the air, the sheer boundless possibility of a place where anything, good or ill, could happen. You are a single lost thread in a vast, intricate tapestry, at once utterly insignificant and profoundly free to disappear, to simply be. This city, you realize, is a living, breathing paradox, a place of intoxicating wonders and ever-present perils, where every face is a story and every alley a potential trap. You are a stranger here, and that very unfamiliarity is both your greatest vulnerability and your most intoxicating freedom.